True justice requires sacrifices. End of story. End of corruption.
One of them asked me that what kind of job are they going to do overseas?
When a man dies and leaves behind family and properties,
Uliqiniso ukuthi umnakethu uMandla akasekho emhlabeni.
Ngifuna ajayive lesiginci sakhe lomba. Ende izavo yakhe siyathokoza.
Gabane. Robota mina kusigabane ekhalami. Awathi kusigamba.
Who's going to take his phone?
Sisingithe namhla sekwene.
Lokho nje awungikholwa ashayela uMelginenza umbode. Utakutshela ukuthi le nkampani yasala kimi mina.
Iwini.
Ulandze mina, Thando. Nengeyati indlela yemaphoyiseni. Akudingeke ukuthi ungilandze.
So now that my father is no more, who will be the owner?
catch this live on Eswatini TV every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. This live, no more to corruption.
You should make it all about me. Give me some of that.
It has just gone 8 o'clock Central African time. Good evening and welcome to the news bulletin at 8, brought to you by Eswatini TV. My name is Sanboy Ngong alongside Zaman Zamaza. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. We're coming to you live from our Hospital Hill studios in Babane. Let's take a look at our top stories. The University of Eswatini, all campuses have been closed with immediate effect. The Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Education says the ministry still stands by its decision of burning corporal punishment in schools. The head of communications at Nature, Lenkwanyana, says Eswatini is amongst 3 SADC countries who have been recognized for doing well in the fight against HIV in the past 3 years. And now the news in detail. The University of Eswatini, all campuses have been closed effective immediately. Now, the registrar of the university, Dr. Salibona Smelane, says students will be communicated to as to when lessons will resume. This follows mayhem that took place last night at the Bulletin campus, where vandalism took place on issues of the unsafety of students following alleged rape cases in the Bulletin campus a couple of weeks ago.
The University of Eswatini has since closed all its campuses with immediate effect. On Monday night, students vandalized property, mainly the warden's office and other buildings inside the institution. A couple of weeks ago, the university was rocked with a scandal of rape where 3 students were allegedly raped inside the campus. Students have since felt unsafe following this scandal. The news crew talked to the registrar of the university, Dr. Salibona Smelane, on what measures are being taken by the university to strengthen security in the campus. Dr. Smelane in response says an investigation is still in place and they are doing all they can, though they are facing challenges. He also says exams have since been stopped as well, despite a decision they took earlier that exams will go on.
I-University ke namuhla ke ekuseni ibe seseyavalwa ke. Onke ama-campuses avalwa ngoba kuwo onke lama-campuses bedemonstrate-wa namuhla ekuseni and vele ku-clear babhalile basho ukuthi uma ngabe kusho sikhona i-employee letako itawushaywa ushiswe timoto tabo magede abesavele sakhiwe as early as 7 o'clock this morning. So nje kunaloko nje ebusuku ukuthi kuthi ngeke kuvele kwase sekucha kwase kuthathwa lesinqumo ithathwa ngiyisenate kwase cha ayisale ivalwa ke-university sesitawukhuluma muva ngokuthi yini ke lesetakwendeka kulama examinations lohlolo lobelihleliwe lusaqhubeka yini noma mhlawumbe setawuthinga ukuthi ubukwe letinye indlela ngokuthi luchubeka nini ngoba lesingeke sakubalekela ngokuthi vele lolo fundzako e-university kubhaliwe kusemithethweni ngokuthi kumele futhi athole i-ECA shokuthi abalelwe ukuthi abefunza njani umnyaka usachubeka egcineni kwawo konke kube neluhlolo sesifunzo-ke lapho angisho nje kafishane nje ukuthi cha siyabalilela abadala sililele netihlobo nabo labantwana nkosiyami siyabalilela siyabambisana-ke nanabo ekutheni basitakale ngetindlela ekuningi bathole i-counselling loko kwelulekwa nokuthi-ke sesabathatha-ke saba-relocatela sabamikisa kulenye i-campus ngokuthi asemamane bachubeke belulame bahlala kuleyo campus.
Dr. Smelane says they have moved their victims to other campuses while organizing them counseling. Dr. Smelane says they have since taken the decision to stop exams yet again. He says students will be communicated to concerning the opening of the university. Students were told to take their belongings and vacate the campus with immediate effect. They were seen leaving with their bags and other belongings. The staff have also been turned back for their own safety. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian Msibi, Mbabane.
The Eswatini Communications Commission, in partnership with the Kingdom of Eswatini government, has put in place a number of programs that will change the lives of the elderly through technology. According to ECCOM's communications manager, Fisiwe Vilane, she says the programs include the improvement of the health sector and decentralization of services to the people. Vilane was speaking about the World Communications and Information Day.
Every year, on the 17th of May, World Telecommunication Day is celebrated in a bid to try and exhibiting the importance of telecommunication and increase awareness of vital roles it plays. The theme for this year is Digital Technologies for Older Individuals and Healthy Aging. The theme also emphasizes the use of information technologies and their significance to stay healthy, connected and dependent on a physical, emotional and financially. According to ECCOM Communications Manager Fisiwe Vilane, the Commission in partnership with government has introduced the CMIS program that allows health workers to access patients' information in health facilities. Vilane says the Ministry of Home Affairs has decentralized services to the Tingundla centers as well. She says that the Deputy Prime Minister's office has also introduced that elderly grant be paid through mobile money.
Lama clinic lakakhona le etingundleni akakhona kokuthi manje ke abaside bamvu kungadzingi ukuthi bahlale bathwele emafayela noma kumbe bathwele emakhadi kepha uma ngabe nje imininingwane yami seyikhona kule system yakahulumende angikhone ukuthi manje ke nangalenye ilanga mangibuya ngimdzala kukhonakala lokho ukuthi manje ke batfola yonke imininingwane yami kokuthi ngake ngagula ngaba nani ngigcineneni kuye esibhedlela yini emaphilisi kumbe ngiwathathako noma leyo mithi.
We spoke to elderly people to find out their feelings towards these interventions.
Mobile ufike waba lusito kakhulu ngoba nemuntu makufakela imali akhashana uyifaka mobile uyakhona ukuthola leso sikhathi uyisebenzise na gesi uyakhona kumthenga ngamobile nemandi uyawabhadala ngamobile. Ngibone kulusito kakhulu nemntwana wakho uyakhona kumthumelela imali ngamobile ayithole leso sikhathi than ngokuthi uhambe uyolayina wente konke.
They all spoke in one voice that all these programs are safe and convenient for them. They further thanked government for the effort. For Eswatini TV News, Sondo Mlangeni, Vuminkosi Nzinisa in Babane.
The private sector is committed to supporting the government of the Kingdom of Eswatini achieve its set targets on combating climate change and nature preservation. This has been said by Business Eswatini's Chief Executive Officer Inati Dlamini, who also mentioned that private sector commitment can help the country reduce gas emissions by 14% in 2030.
The Kingdom of Eswatini in 2016 joined 195 member states and signed the Paris Agreement, that is a binding international treaty on climate change, with Article 4 of the agreement calling upon member states to establish projects that talks to combating climate change. Business Eswatini's Chief Executive Officer Nate Dlamini says the private sector is committed in supporting the government to achieve set targets on gas emission and nature preservation.
Government, thankfully, and we congratulate them for doing so, was that they will reduce greenhouse gases by 5% by 2030. I think that's what they said. And they said with technical support or financing from outside, it is possible to even reduce about 14% by 2030. That is a huge number, and I'm sure everybody knows it's a very ambitious target because it equates to over 1 million tons of greenhouse gases that we can get rid of by 2030, which is, that's the country what it has committed itself. But certainly, when they made those commitments, they were hoping that stakeholders in this country will be part of government in driving that forward. And certainly we have decided, because I think it's in our best interest to do so, to support this target, so that by the time COP27 comes next year, we'll be able to report a reasonable figure. I have been looking around the projects that are coming through offices here at Business Eswatini, all green-based projects. For instance, in renewable clean energies, since I've got very, very beautiful projects with me, all coming from local businesses in their endeavor to partner with this country so that they ensure that they meet the target as was set by our government.
With the Paris Agreement, countries established an enhanced transparency framework, ETF, which states that starting in 2024, countries will report transparently on actions taken and progress on climate change. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samkel Siwekoza with Vuminkosi Nzinisa and Muzim Konta Babane.
The Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Peggy Tembagama, says the ministry still stands by its decision of banning corporal punishment in schools. Gama was responding to a case where a parent at Herman Maina Primary School, that is SOS, alleges that her child has been beaten for not understanding a certain topic in class.
An anonymous parent of a Herman Maina going child doing grade 1 has contacted the news crew, alleging that her child says a teacher has beaten them a couple of weeks ago after they failed to understand a certain section of the lesson on that particular day. The parent, who asked to remain anonymous, says she contacted the school on her child's allegations, where the head teacher promised to look into the matter. The parent further says 2 weeks later, her child says the teacher had once again beaten them, which has made the child to drag her feet about going to school. To verify the truth about the matter, the news crew contacted the head teacher, Linda Dvala, who denied such ever taking place in his school, saying he has qualified teachers who wouldn't do that.
In relation to this one, whereby children are being beaten for not understanding probably a particular concept, I do not have it on my desk, that is one. But further, I do not believe my teachers would do that, because these children have actually come here. They are here so that they can be nurtured to understand certain concepts. Therefore, it is difficult to believe that there is an individual teacher who can beat a child for not understanding. I suppose, and I guess, the parent should actually check with the child the actual cause of the punishment, if there was any punishment.
The Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Peggy Tembakama, when contacted about this matter, says it is unlawful for a teacher to beat scholars. He says a parent has the right to report such to the regional education officers. He says the Ministry of Education banned corporal punishment and passed the use of positive discipline. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian Msibi with Sanziso Mlambo and Njabulu Makakula Mbabane.
Since the country became part of the UNESCO's Associated Schools Project Network, also known as ASPINET, students are now showing interest in science and technology subjects. This has been said by UNESCO's Education and Science Program Officer Nelson Ndwandwe.
The Kingdom of Eswatini joined the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization UNESCO's Associated Schools Project Network ASPINET in 1994, where UNESCO encourages schools worldwide to educate students on issues related to UNESCO's overarching goal of promoting peace and international understanding. The Kingdom of Eswatini has 75 actively participating schools in ASPINET currently. Education and Science Programs Officer at UNESCO, Nelson Ndwandwe, says since the implementation of the ASPINET project in the country, pupils and students have started showing interest on science and technology subjects.
The network has grown up to 74 schools now here in Eswatini because we started with 2 schools. But by now we have over 75 schools, yes, in the network. Yes, and also the schools, we have seen a great change in or transformation in the schools who have joined the network. There is UNESCO ASPINET schools in terms of the environment, the school's environment, and in terms of the performance of the students in the field of science and technology. So the students are now getting more motivated in subjects that in science and technology.
On another note, under the ASPINET, Eswatini's first Education for Sustainable Development competition, 10 schools has forwarded their applications. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I am Samkel Suekoza with Vumenko Sensenesa and Muslim Konta Mbabane.
The head of communications at the National Emergency Response Council for HIV and AIDS, that's Nature Space Lenkwanyana, says the Kingdom of Eswatini is amongst 3 SADC countries who have been recognized for doing well in the fight against HIV and AIDS in the past 3 years. Now, other countries that we selected or recognized include Botswana and South Africa.
Last week, the Kingdom of Eswatini had a visit from SADC consultation team to capture the country's success stories on HIV and AIDS. This follows a selection by SADC of 3 countries who has done well in the fight against HIV and AIDS in the past 3 years. The countries are the Kingdom of Eswatini, South Africa and Botswana. Nature's head of communications, Sipesi Lenkwanyana, says the captured stories will be part of the upcoming Global Fund Replenishment Conference that will be held in Geneva, which will also help the country in HIV/AIDS funding.
What has been happening for the past 2 weeks is that the SADC consultant was in the country collecting those stories, from key informants, including government, including the National AIDS Council, of which in this case it is Nurture. So we were just showcasing the beautiful work that we have done as a country, including, working hard in ensuring that expectant mothers do not, lose their babies upon birth, but also do not transfer, HIV to them, amongst the many other programs that we have done as a country. So we are hopeful that with the stories that we were able to share with the world will learn from us, and also Global Fund will be able, to give us funding for the next 3 years, taking from 2022 perhaps up to 2025, if I'm not mistaken. That is what will be happening. So at the replenishment conference, these videos will be played and the beautiful work of Eswatini will be displayed to the rest of the world.
Eswatini is the first African country to achieve the 95-95-95 global HIV target. This means that 95% of people living with HIV in Eswatini know their status. That's 95% of people in Eswatini who know their HIV positive status are accessing treatment, and that 95% of people on treatment have suppressed viral load. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I am Samkal Suwekoza with Nomfundo Makakula, Babane.
The Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority is working on hosting an online expo and a bid to showcase the health sector to local buyers and companies. The expo will be hosted on the 27th of May 2022. Eswatini TV Sonto Mlangeni has more on that story.
In a report issued by Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority, the Health Expo 2022 will consist of both exhibition booths and a webinar. The event is expected to be free to the public and stakeholders and will be hosted on APAS by Eswatini.com. Bongane Njangase, head of trade at Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority, says the health sector plays a vital role in our economy. Not only does it contribute to the GDP, it also aids in economic recovery. Njangase says it is also directly involved in enabling and sustaining the very existence of mankind through the provision of health care services to people. Njangase says through the Health Expo 2022, both public and private sectors will be brought together to give a broader view of the industry while exposing the different stakeholders or industry players and the importance of their role in public health. The online exhibition opens on the 27th of May together with a webinar via Zoom. Industry experts from the private and public sector will form part of the panelists, including different speakers. Njangase says topical issues to be unpacked at the webinar includes a general view of the service providers in the health sector. Njangase further encourages retailers to exhibit their goods on the online platform by Eswatini.com, which will host the exhibition running for 30 days from the 27th of May. Njangase says getting a slot to showcase a company's services and products for free. He says that one of their goals as Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority in trade facilitation is to see more local businesses switching to e-commerce platforms such as by Eswatini.com, and also encourage continuity of business despite the challenges that the economy has seen over recent months. Njangase added that the exhibition also presents opportunities for businesses such as 24/7 access to an online store and exhibition space regardless of location across the globe, with no setup cost for exhibition spaces. During times when there are no live exhibition on by Eswatini.com. The virtual platform continues to operate as a permanent online shopping mall for goods and services offered by companies from Eswatini. Reporting, I'm Sonto Mlangeni in Babane.
The Federation of Organization of the Disabled Persons in Eswatini and the 1 Billion Rising campaign encourage Maswati to support women and disabled persons to be part of the by-elections that are currently going in 9 communities.
The country is in a process of conducting the by-elections that involves 9 communities. 2 organizations, the 1 Billion Rising Campaign and the Federation of Organization of the Disabled in Eswatini, encourages the Maswati to support women and disabled persons to be part of the elected individuals to represent their communities in parliament. According to the 1 Billion Rising Campaign coordinator Hlajwago, leaving women behind in election will allow the country's development to be stagnant. Hlajwago says a research was conducted and it was found that women leaders make a positive impact in issues of development.
Lucwaningo oluvetile ukuthi lapho kunamake khona kunentuthuko. Phindze lekufuna sikwati simaswati ukuthi nangabe bomake sitawuhlala sibashiya emuva phela silive la kaNgwane sitendela phansi thini.
The president of the Federation of Organization of the Disabled in Eswatini, Bongan Makama, says disabled persons are equally capable. They need to be given a chance. Makama says some of the constituencies that are involved in the by-elections, like Sipofaneni, have the highest number of disabled persons.
Abanqonywe uma kusikhathi sekunqoma baphindeke abendelwe lihlelo lolungono siyakholwa ukuthi utawuliqhuba kahle IBC lolihlelo lokuthi lokho batekile akhona kungangeni elayinini sikhathi lesithe njengoba hlala enda.
Makama says that should be used to their advantage to nominate and elect disabled persons. For Eswatini TV News on Mlangeni in Babane.
Right now, let's see how our markets are performing today in our financial report.
Standard Bank. It can be.
Welcome back. You're still with the news bulletin at 8 here at Eswatini TV. I'm Sunny Boingone. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. Right now, we shall take a look at news making headlines in the world of sports. President of Eswatini Rugby Union, Smanga Makakule, says the pre-season tournament that begins this coming weekend will help teams to adequately prepare for the new rugby season that begins month end. Rugby Union last hosted a league tournament 2 years ago due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Eswatini Rugby Union continues with programs of capacitating different officials of the association in preparations for the new season, having been last active over 2 years ago. The association's president Smanga Makagura says a pre-season tournament has been arranged to give a right platform to all men and women clubs to begin their preparations for the new season. Makagura says this is a chance for also school players to begin their preparations. According to Makagura, the pre-season tournament begins this coming weekend, while the actual league season begins at the end of this month. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Babane.
The president of the Athletics Association of Eswatini, Zakele Dlamini, says neighboring countries, Mozambique and Lesotho, will take part in this year's national championships. Dlamini says this is one way of making the competition more competitive. The national champs will be held this coming Saturday at the Mavuso Sports Center. Eswatini TV's Fabrice Msonera has more.
All is set for the 2022 National Championships that will be held this coming Saturday at the Mavuso Sports Center. These are the words by the Athletic Association President Zakele Dlamini during a press briefing where he mentioned that international athletes from Mozambique and Lesotho have been invited to take part of the competition.
To spice it up, we decided to even invite our neighbors. We will be having athletes from Mozambique, we'll be having athletes from Lesotho. We still have to get a confirmation of having athletes from South Africa. And we have a vision 2032 for a podium finish. And if we look at the way the athletes are coming up, we are of the view, we are on the right track, especially when we look at even with the growth that we see from partners that are willing to come together and partner with us.
Eswatini Olympic and Commonwealth Games Association Chief Executive Officer Maxwell Jerry says athletes who will be competing at the national championships will show the nation why they are capable of preparing themselves and competing at the highest level, like the Commonwealth Games.
These championships, President, would not have come at a better time than now. And the reason for that is because we are very close to the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, which are going to take place towards the end of July. So the national championships give the athletes an opportunity to compete effectively at the highest level, particularly this time around because they'll also be competing against their counterparts from other countries, some of whom they will be traveling with to Birmingham.
Subsiso Matsenja, known as Swazibold, who spoke on behalf of the athletes, highlighted the readiness of the athletes.
You don't know how happy the athletes will be when they see all those things they established for Lilela, and also the t-shirts. But and as we preparing for the African Games in Mauritius and the Commonwealth Games, this also be part of a practice for some of the athletes like on our medal leave in Commonwealth Games.
Different sponsors such as Eswatini National Provident Fund, Schoolers, and many more have sponsored the event with items worth 20,000 emarangeni, with also Eswatini Olympic Movement adding a sponsorship of 20,000 emarangeni to bring the total to over 40,000 emarangeni for this year's national championships. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msundara with Nomfundo Simelane, Mbabane.
We've reached the home stretch of the news bulletin at 8 at Eswatini TV, but before we go, here's a quick reminder of our top stories tonight. The University of Eswatini, all campuses have been closed with immediate effect. The Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Education says the ministry still stands by its decision of burning corporal punishment in schools. The head of communications at Nature, Spes Lenkwanyana, says Eswatini is amongst 3 SADC countries who have been recognized for doing well in the fight against HIV in the past 3 years. Beautiful Kingdom of Eswatini, that brings us to the conclusion of our news bulletin at 8 at Eswatini TV. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. We shall now cross over to the Weather Center for a detailed weather report from us and the rest of the team at Eswatini TV. For now, it's good night and God bless.